Welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. The 3 keys to your success is just moments away. Here's your host, Brian Kelly.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. Every single show, we seem to up the grade of the guest that come on our show, and tonight is no different. I am so very, very excited. Thank you for coming on and watching us here on a Tuesday evening. We normally air on Thursdays, but this is a very, very special edition of the Mind Body Business Show. And we're going to bring on our guest here real soon. The Mind Body Business Show. What is that all about? Well, and now in my 55 years on this planet, I spend the last 10 years or so studying just successful people, only successful people, really trying to figure it out. What is it that makes them really as successful as they are? And that included actual people like mentors of mine who I knew personally. That included books and authors of incredible books and what made them successful, and books on successful people. It included taking courses, going to networking events and seminars, and then studying individuals who I saw that were being had reached a really high level of success. And what I found over that time was 3 patterns kept emerging over and over again. And you've probably guessed what those are. They're on either side of me. It's mind, body, and business. Mind being mindset. Each and every one to a person had a rock solid, positive, and flexible mindset. And you're going to love my guest, Scott Aaron, coming on here in just a moment, because he fits all of these to a T. All of them. It's amazing. And then body. He fits this one remarkably well. Body. That's about literally taking care of oneself. That means exercising on a regular basis and eating and drinking the proper nutrients to keep you at a high-powered level throughout the day. Because here's the thing. The mind and body, they are a team. And more importantly, the mind and body are your team. If any one member of the team is slacking, if they're not operating at peak performance, then guess what happens to the team as a whole? The whole team goes down with that team member that's not pulling their weight. And it's the same thing with you. Your mind and body are precious. They need to be working at the highest level of peak performance. And that's what the successful people do. And Scott Aaron is just that kind of person. That's why he has reached the pinnacle of success that he is at now. And he's still growing. And we're going to talk at depth about this. And then business. Business is so multifaceted. There's marketing, sales, team building, leadership, scaling, systematizing, everything. It's a lot. And here's the thing. The good news is no one person can really master everything that goes into business. It would take a lifetime for one person to do that. The good news is if you master one of those things I mentioned, and that is leadership, then you can easily basically master them all by delegating to those who have those skill sets and building that rock star team. And yeah, it takes time when you start out as a solopreneur and you're building your business. And then you just start looking for those people and bringing them in as finances warrant. And when it's time to maybe take a risk, get a loan and go do it that way, you'll know when it's the right time, and you can build your business that way. And that's what successful people did from my studies. And I appreciate y'all coming on. I see comments coming in. We'll address those in just a moment. And another great, wonderful attribute of highly successful people is, and this kind of shocked me because I wasn't in that league at that moment when I learned this, but to a person, they're very avid readers. And back then I did not read anything. I mean, books. I did not read books. And once I learned this trait, I began voraciously reading books. So with that, I'd like to quickly segue into a short segment I like to call bookmarks.
Bookmarks. Born to read. Bookmarks. Ready, steady, read. Bookmarks. Brought to you by reachyourpeaklibrary.com.
Yes, there you see, reachyourpeaklibrary.com. By the way, for those of you watching live and those of you that are maybe watching afterward or even on podcast listening, here's the thing. Stick with us. No matter which form of media you're watching or listening to, stick with us and get out one of those old-fashioned instruments called a pen or a pencil. You remember those? And actual physical paper. And the reason I recommend that is so that when these resources are mentioned, there are going to be many. I know Scott's got quite a few to give us some nuggets of wisdom. Instead of instead of running over to actually look at these websites while the show is going, you're going to be diverting your attention, and you might miss something audibly while you can't see the show, or even visually. And that could be that one thing that would change your life forever going forward. I've seen it happen when doing live seminars. When I've spoken from stage, people would leave the room to take a phone call, go to the restroom, whatever it happened to be. And that was right at that moment where it could literally have changed their life. And so for you, I would just implore that, request that you do the same for yourself, not for us, but for yourself. I personally, during the show, I'm hosting it, I take notes myself. And so I appreciate having our guests on who's going to bring us incredible value. And just really stay tuned, stay with us, and take notes, and don't go away. All right, you'll get the most out of it that way. So Reach Your Peak Library is literally a collection of books I personally read. And it's actually, I need to update it. It's way behind. I've only got 40 books on here. I've read a lot more, but I wanted to put a group of books together with you in mind. The entrepreneur, the person that's looking to change the world, the person that's looking to better their circumstance for their family, for themselves. And what I did was I took only the books that had a profound impact on me personally or my business, and I put them in this list. So that way you could have a vetted list, at least by one other successful person that you could go to and have at least some probability of knowing that, this book could actually be good for you as well. That way you're not just, blindly throwing darts at the dartboard, hoping you hit a bullseye. Now you can just take one that you can be more rest assured that's going to have impact on you. Does that make sense? I hope so, because talking about having impact on people, I cannot wait to introduce our guest expert. And you know what? Based on that, you know what time it is? It's time to bring him on. So let's do that right now. Here we go.
It's time for the guest expert spotlight. Savvy, skillful, professional, adept, trained, big league, qualified.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Mr. Scott Aaron. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show.
Brian, thank you so much. And obviously it's an honor, and just truly grateful to be with you today to share and obviously give some knowledge and give people some tangible takeaways of how to up-level their life and their business.
Yes, and I appreciate that. We got to get to know each other for literally a half an hour before this show came on. And it's interesting. I find it interesting time and time again. Thanks for all the loves and likes on LinkedIn. They're going crazy. Ken Wentworth is out there. Appreciate you, because to me, it was like an instant friendship. And, it happens more often when you surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And you and I are like brothers separated at birth or something. I don't know what's going on, but... you can tell we're identical.
Identical, same haircut and everything.
I've actually had that haircut. I did.
It works. So
it's all good. Oh man, it was cool. It was refreshing. I loved it.
It's very easy.
But before we jump in, and I want to introduce you formally so people can get an idea of your background. Right before we do that, I want to remind everyone who's watching live with us now that you can enter to win a 5-night stay at a 5-star luxury resort in Mexico, or another resort of your choosing. There are several to choose from. And this is all brought to us by our wonderful good friends at powertexting.com. We give one of these away every single show. And just to be clear, you are not going to be shanghaied when you arrive and taken into a room and spend half of your trip in a timeshare presentation. That will not happen. And I know this to be true for a fact, because the owners of powertexting.com have tested and gone on these vacations, not just once, not just twice, but 3 times. And every single time came back saying it was as if I was another paying guest at this resort. And so it's a 5-night stay, ladies and gentlemen. So stay on to the end. Only those who stay on live will be entered to win, and you'll get the information on how to do that when we get to that point, and just less than an hour from now. So hang on with us. Now to the man of the hour. Let's give him a formal introduction. Internationally acclaimed and award-winning network marketer, author, podcaster, and speaker, Scott Aaron is the go-to specialist when it comes to converting traffic, establishing connections, creating residual income using linked leads generation, and building personal brands. People focused and results driven. Scott's strategic approach to teaching others how to create wealth online and organic traffic is a game changer when it comes to competing in a saturated, oh, I love this, digital world. I mean, that just said so much to me. And so right off the bat, Scott, right off the bat, the first sentence, this is what everyone else should aspire to do and start doing it right now, which is write a book, start a podcast, and speak from stage. I mean, right there, everyone knows what to do now. So that's our show for tonight.
Good night. Thank you for having me.
So officially, how you doing tonight, Scott? Appreciate you coming on. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. And again, it's, I follow the principles of the science of getting rich, which I always mention because it talks about living in a world of creation and collaboration to really not just create wealth, but to impact as many people as possible. And the fact that, you have me on here right now, this is a way for your market to get to know me, and it's a way for my market to get to know you. And this is how collaboration works, and this is how lives are impacted. So again, I'm just truly, truly grateful to be here.
And that's a great put, that's, about the collaboration part. These are the times for abundance, not for scarcity. And people are realizing that, I think, more and more. Some just take longer than others. But I remember I used to be in the fitness industry, and I would have other guests on who had a fitness business. And I loved it. Because here's the thing, there are enough people to go around. There's plenty of people to go around for potential clients. Not everyone is going to resonate with me as much as they might with him, and vice versa. So why not give them the best results they're looking for? Give them what they want, and just, share each other. I had an online fitness business. Others had brick and mortar. They could probably, if they're close to that person, go to that one. So collaboration is key. I appreciate you for opening up with that. Jason Nass, my buddy. Grant Cardone is a bad, and love his books. Love it. Badass. That's not a bad word, actually. Eliza from the Philippines. We've got them coming from all over the place. Thank you for coming on, Eliza. Appreciate you. What I like to do, Scott, is open it up with, so now we got a little bit, very little bit about your background and what you do from a more of a high level view, from an outside looking in. What I like to do is go inside. What I like to do is actually find out what makes you, Scott Aaron, Mr. Success, tick from the inside in that big, beautiful brain of yours. What is going on? And so to kind of bring a little bit of that out, if you don't mind, I like to start with finding out what it is that drives you. Like when you get up in the morning and it's a new day and you start coming to and you're alert and you're aware, and now you're saying it's a new day, and that drive kicks in and that motivation kicks in. For you, what is it that motivates you to do this day in and day out and stay at a high level at all times?
The opportunity to create something from the unknown. And I think that's the one thing that inspires me as an entrepreneur. Everything that I'm doing, my book, my speaking, my coaching, my podcast, it all came from an idea. It all came from a thought, which I then put into action. And it's a simple message that I have to a lot of entrepreneurs, is that everyone's waiting for the perfect moment and the right time, and making sure that everything is cleared off of your plate to push those chips all in. And what I've learned in my 23 years of entrepreneurship is that you have to create those moments. They don't just fall from the sky into your lap, even though some moments and some times where you're in those creative flows, you did something to open up that door of opportunity, whether it's saying yes to something or having a conversation with someone or hiring a coach, whatever it is. But when you're moving that needle forward, and that's what gets me so excited every day, because I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I don't know what conversation, plain and simple. And I'm going to go back to something that you said a few minutes ago. When you had your show, you would have other fitness experts on. I connected with a woman from LinkedIn, and she also is a LinkedIn expert. And I set up a call on her calendar, and I could tell when I got on the phone with her, she was very reserved, almost like, why are you contacting me if you also do something like I do? And I basically shared why I wanted to connect with her. I love connecting and collaborating with people of similar mindsets that love the platform that I love. And she started to slowly warm up. And I said, and she goes, well, how do you see us being able to do something together? I said, I have a great platform to spotlight you. I have a podcast, and I would love to invite you on so you can share your knowledge, your skills, and your passions to my audience. And you know what she said, Brian? She said, don't you think that might be a conflict of interest for your network?
Goodness sakes.
And I said, it may sound like a conflict of interest, but I said, it's actually the reverse. I said, between you and me, my audience is sick and tired of hearing me talk about LinkedIn. They know what I love and what I do. But having another industry expert come on and I can put the spotlight on you, it just adds to both of our credibilities of what we both love. So by the end of the conversation, I booked her on my podcast in 2 weeks, and she was so excited because she goes, I love your energy. I love what you're about. I love that you were so open with inviting me on because, I've connected with other people and they had hidden agendas. I'm like, listen, there's no agenda here. I'm all about creation and collaboration. Let's do something great together.
Man, that is phenomenal. I love it. I love all of it. And about your point about waiting for the correct time and moment. Here's the thing. I mean, I used to be that person. And, when is the right time to have a baby if you're in a relationship? Never. When is the right time to start a business and risk a large amount of money potentially to start that business? Never. And so like Scott just said, the key is creating those moments, is creating that right time. You just have to do it. And the thing is there's a little bit of fear when that happens. That's what's keeping folks from going forward, is the resistance factor called fear. And if you get in the habit daily of getting out of your comfort zone and addressing those fears headlong and just going for it, then that's when things happen. And that's what Scott is telling you. A still ship in the water cannot be, you can't change its direction. So if you're going the wrong direction, you can't right the ship because it's not moving. But if you're moving and you're going the wrong direction, at least you're moving and you have the ability to steer it in the right direction. And so same thing with life. If you're not doing anything and just sitting in idle fear of what if it fails? Great, fail many times, fail a ton. That's actually important, to fail a lot so you learn from it and move on. The faster you can fail a bunch, the quicker you will become successful like Scott. So, I mean, I read so much in that two little sentences that you talked about there, Scott, but it's profound. And once people grasp it and embrace it and own it, then that's when you see the change. And it's profound change. It's amazing change. The more Scott does what he's doing, bringing on other guests that are in the same line of work that he does, the more he's going to get in return down the road. It just does happen that way. It just flat out does. And I know that from my own experience. So that's why I love having folks like Scott on. It's not about the quick kill. It's not about money. It's about serving people first, and then the money will come.
You're hitting on honestly, we are cut from the same cloth because I always tell people, change nothing and nothing changes. I
love that.
Brian, the funny thing is this: people make life and success this anomaly. It's this difficult thing that the very special people are going to achieve.
Yes.
It's the exact opposite. You just have to do something. There's two keys that I always come back to foundationally for me and what I teach. Number one is action. The cure-all for being stuck is taking action. We're not trees, we can move. So just take action. And number two is accountability. If you can't be self-accountable, get an accountability partner, join a group, hire a coach, have someone that you should report to, because again, we all need that. Brian, why do people hire personal trainers? Because they are not capable of getting to the gym on their own. But here's what I'll tell you. Here's what happens. When I was a personal trainer, I always made sure that my clients were not workout dependent. I wanted to make them workout independent. So I gave them a ramp up period. I worked with them 3 to 4 days a week for a couple months, gave them and got them into a routine, and then I started to cut them down, because it takes 66 days to create a habit. So as I started to create habits and I was keeping them accountable, they started to create those own habits on their own. So they didn't rely on me. They were self-reliant on themselves. So they were more self-accountable.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And man, telling you, we are brothers. We are brothers. Because that was when I was in fitness. My goal was not for them to have to be dependent on me and work with me ever again. And once we're done, and they will have all the tools they need. I utilized neuro-linguistic programming in my program, which would reprogram the brain so that the excuses are gone. The eating habits are better. They're improved. Hypnosis and NLP and everything that goes with it, because that's the missing link. It's the accountability factor. So for 90 days, they have an accountability partner, which was yours truly. And then I would also recommend to continue that with someone else and just keep going if they need it, but they shouldn't need it, because the goal is, it's time for you to sprout your wings and fly on your own, get out of the nest and soar, And so I love this. And I talked about the importance of reading books in the beginning of the show. And I was just curious if the same is true for you, if you find yourself or would say that you're an avid reader. And you're nodding emphatically, and I can see that. So what one book really sticks out in your life up to this point? Not necessarily the one you're reading now. It could be that one. But what one book would you say has had the greatest impact on your life, maybe business or personal?
The one that was the catalyst, I would call it, because there's been I reference a ton of books. My fiance and I, we have 6 bookshelves full of books. But it actually goes back to, again, something that you said earlier, and it's failing. Your failures, and this is what I tell people, your failures always open the doors to your successes, and it's your failure quotient. So when I was making a shift in my online wellness business and stepping into more business coaching and consulting using LinkedIn, I did this at the perfect time, because LinkedIn had just gotten bought out by Microsoft, but also I happened to stumble upon a book called Go for No by Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton. And fast forward, Andrea and I have become friends. She's been on my podcast. We catch up every so often. And this book literally changed my life, because you just have to look at the front cover. And it says, yes is the destination, but no is how you will get there. So I practice a lot of NLP, and I organically do NLP when I speak and when I talk to people. And I had to reprogram my thoughts. Everyone focuses on the yes. And I was reading this book, and it's saying, go for no, focus on no. The more no's, the more yeses. And I went back to something that I heard by Jim Rohn way back in the day in network marketing. And he talked about the average of a 300 hitter. They make millions of dollars, and they get paid that kind of money getting 3 hits out of every 10 at bats. And then he spun it around, and he's like, that same person gets paid that money when they get out 7 times out of 10 at bats. And when I kept hearing go for no, set no goals, not like don't set any goals, but no goals, it shifted. It became a law of conversation. And I'm like, that's it. My core foundation is human connection, getting people on the phone, building trust, rapport, and relationship. And there was no better place for me to do that and continue to do that than LinkedIn. And the numbers started happening. And the more people I was talking to, the more opportunities start to come my way. And it just made sense. So that book, and if people have not read it, the original one, not the one for network marketing, the original book, that book will shift your entire mindset. And it's a wonderful book, 76 pages. It's one of those books where it vividly paints a picture as you read it. It's a story told book, and could not recommend it anymore.
Yes, I concur. I remember it well, and I just was searching, and it's not even on my website, reachyourpeaklibrary.com. It needs to be added because I concur. What it does is it takes the pressure off of always going for the yes, knowing that, you know, when you're on the phone, one of the biggest fears of people in sales is that of rejection. And that will, you know, when someone goes on and gets that first no and then says, well, I'll do another one, they get another no, then the third one, then they're like, this sucks, I'm done. But when you read a book like Go for No, it tells you that you're just getting started. You haven't even scratched the surface. And that those, like, oh, I love how you said that, where you said your failures open the doors to your success. And those aren't failures, really. If you look at it, it's just one step closer to greater success. I think they're all successes because you're learning as you go. You're streamlining your language patterns, the way that you interact with them, the words you're using with them. What did I do on that one? Go back and, you know, record them all and analyze what went wrong here, what went good here, take it all, and then refine it. That's what the best do. Richard Brunson talks about this in Expert Secrets. And when he's talking about his webinars that he would do, I forget, it was a lot. He did about, it was maybe more, but it was around 60 webinars live before he ever would consider doing a recorded webinar, having it recorded, because he was refining every single one of them. I'm sure it was way more than 60. It was a bunch. He did maybe it doesn't matter. It's a lot of repetition to get, you know, that's what it is. Repetition is the key to mastery.
We talk about the gym all the time, Brian. You don't go to the gym once and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You have to make it a daily practice and a daily habit. And, you know, to just speak quickly on the word failure, and that why I always say your failures always open the doors to your successes is because there's lessons learned. So every failure is so vital because you can learn a lesson from it to tweak or redo or remaster or try something different, because there's always a way to figure something out if you're constantly moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to reframe it. Like, failure is an opportunity for success. I mean, it's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to grow. It's and that's what the successful people do. It doesn't matter what the situation is. They always look at it from, well, what can we do with this? And how can I, you know, what part of me was at cause for this happening? Always taking the cause for every event. Doesn't mean it's their fault if something bad happened, but somehow, some way they were involved in some decision they made along the day, put them in that position for that thing to happen. We are all a result of our own mind. We're all a result of our own mindset. The faster that you're able to reprogram it, to change it, to start, and you don't have to go through NLP right away. I highly recommend it. I know Scott would say the same. You can do small things to get yourself there and just use repetition to get that much closer to whatever your goals and desires are, because for everyone it's different. I know that from doing this show. It's amazing. And wanted to get into the other side. So we've talked about mind, we've talked about reading a little bit, and now I like to talk about fitness, and it's especially a great one to go down because of already what you've said. But for those that don't know you used to do something where you would do things on stage, and I'll let you talk about that because I'm impressed by it. What was that thing you used to do back in the day?
So I was a amateur competitive bodybuilder back in the day. So I did have the banana hammock on for a couple shows, and you know, it was a really good learning discipline because, you know, for me it spurred because, you know, I was a personal trainer for 18 years, so I always focused on helping other people and, you know, hit their goals and train, and I said, you know what, I want to do something for myself. And so my father began training me specifically for the show. I hired a nutritionist and a posing coach, and I did a couple shows. I won my first show, and it was a very interesting 14 weeks. I recommend, if someone is a fitness buff and they want to know what it's like, I recommend it to that type of person. But as a lifestyle, it's not something that you can keep up, but I learned some valuable lessons. Number one, I learned about discipline and the compounded effect. So, when I trained for my first show, I was 202 pounds. I'm only 5'9". I was 202 pounds. And when I stepped on stage 14 weeks later, I was 171. And it was a big drop in a small amount of time, but it was the small daily actions every day, the fasted cardio, carrying my tilapia and asparagus everywhere I went when I was eating. And I had to give up a lot. There was no alcohol, there was no dessert. If I went out with friends, I had to eat prior and just hang out. And it taught me that discipline. But the biggest thing I took away from that was the enjoyment of life. And I realized that, life wasn't a competition. I remember doing my second show, and I felt like I looked good, but the judges felt otherwise. And then as I stepped off the stage and I did not place nearly the way that I wanted to, I realized that I said, why am I doing this? I'm subjecting myself to a subjective sport where I'm letting the opinions and thoughts of others dictate how good I look. And I need to feel confident that I look my best no matter what place is handed to me. And I said, that's it. I'm done. I know my worth. And I had to retrain myself again to get back to normal habits, enjoying wine and enjoying dessert. And it took a little bit of an adjustment period to that, but I don't regret that part of my journey. It taught me a lot. I was proud of myself because it's not an easy thing to do. Did I feel like quitting at a few moments during those 2 14-week periods? Absolutely. But I didn't. I pushed through and I started what I finished.
Wow. I love it. And there's a lot of parallels here also to the business world because, actually for you, that turned out to be a blessing that you did not win, because if you had won or placed well, then you would still possibly, have been doing it much longer and not realize that, wait a minute, that's kind of a wake-up call. There's something else I could be doing. I've been investing a lot of time. And here's the thing. It's very similar when you're going down the path of trying to figure out what works for you in business.
Yeah.
I've been down that path. Like I said, I used to be in fitness. Literally last year, I switched. After 7 years in the fitness industry, I quit. I didn't quit. I moved. I transitioned to automation, online automation business, all around live shows like this and everything that goes with it. And I'm happier. I mean, it was a journey, and you go through different legs of the journey, and you just kind of find your way as you go, and you'll get the signs that tell you if you're going down the right path or not. Some are lucky and they hit it right the first time. It's not too often that I've seen personally, but just give yourself the freedom to explore and enjoy the journey along the way. And that's what you just said. The enjoyment of life is what you took out of bodybuilding. Because, it's a tough thing. I mean, my God, what you guys go through just blows my mind. The pain you self-inflict pain on yourself by working out, lifting weights, because it's true. No pain, no gain. The nutrition that, like you said, you have to be very regimented. In fact, bodybuilders on the whole, they eat a heck of a lot more food than normal people because there's a lot of muscle to feed. I heard that bodybuilders lose a lot of weight when they sleep because they're not feeding themselves, and the muscles are burning calories even at rest. It's just amazing, the whole thing around it. So it's a very difficult sport to be in from so many aspects, sacrifices that have to be made. So that's why I look up so highly to people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who has that entrepreneur mindset, to Scott Aaron, who has that entrepreneur mindset, who knows the value of discipline, of stick-to-itiveness, of everything that goes with it. I mean, it's very down the same path as what it takes to become a successful person in business.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that story. The banana, that was funny.
Well, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So
Yes.
it's so true. You learn one discipline, you can apply that discipline to anything that you're passionate about.
Fantastic. Now, I've been aching to get to this part. I wanted to set the table because I wanted folks to understand you at a deep level. I'm understanding you more as a deep level. And it's not surprising me in the least because you're that special kind of individual. And I'm loving this conversation. But what I really want to know that you've got my interest piqued on is exactly, if you can describe what it is you do. Like, I know that you're using LinkedIn. I know personally, LinkedIn is really a place that most business owners should focus on right now.
Yes.
All the hijinks going on with Facebook of late. They'll probably shut me down right now because I just said that. Who knows? I hope not. I hope the live didn't just go dead on Facebook because of that comment. But But LinkedIn is a very powerful platform, and you have cracked some kind of code to help build businesses, specifically in the area of network marketing, maybe also in traditional businesses. But if you wouldn't mind, could you take us down the path of what that all entails, what that's about?
Absolutely. And the thing is, I do love automation for certain aspects of entrepreneurial businesses, but I always tell people there's one aspect of any business, whether it's a brick and mortar, whether it's an online business or whatever it is, network marketing, there's no opt-in, there's no click funnel, there's no email sequence for, and that's human connection. And everyone says, what's the secret? What's the secret? What's the secret? The secret to success of entrepreneurs, the ones that are achieving the most, are the best human connectors. They're the ones that are impacting the most people with what they're doing. And Robin Sharma says this. He says, you want to make millions, find a way to impact millions. You want to make billions, find a way to impact billions. And as I was building my network marketing business and I was having success, I got to a point where I was feeling very dejected on social media because I was finding myself, and this is what I realized, Brian, that we talk about core foundations and core values. My core value, my core of why I do what I do, it's connection. And I wasn't feeling connected to people on Facebook and Instagram because it was just scrolling and trolling. It was posting and praying. And I wasn't having the phone conversations. I wasn't having the Zoom conversations. It wasn't going anywhere. And like I said, I jumped onto LinkedIn, and I remember something that one of my first mentors said to me, a woman by the name of Susan Sly, amazing, amazing entrepreneur. And she said to me very early on in my journey, she said, Scott, you have to wake up every single morning, look yourself in the mirror, and ask yourself this one question. How am I going to connect with me today? And it clicked. I said, that's it. I'm looking for someone like me, another gym owner, a personal trainer, a sports nutritionist, everything that I was at that time. I couldn't find them on Facebook and Instagram. So I went onto LinkedIn and I started poking around the search engine and searching and connecting and messaging people. And after doing that for a little while, people actually started writing back to me. Sure, let's connect. And then I started booking call after call after call. Still to this day, I have at least 20 to 25 calls every single week from LinkedIn. And I remembered, I'm like, I think I have something here. Never, ever thinking it was going to turn into a business. So I reached out to a buddy of mine, Joe Alonzo. And I said, Joey, you got to get on LinkedIn. And he had a sales background as well. And I said, you got to get on there, search for other Windows sales people. I want you to send a message like this, change your profile so it looks like this, and let me know what happens. He texted me a week later and he said, call me. So I did. And I said, dude, what's up? And he goes, listen, he goes, whatever you're doing, he goes, it really, really works. He goes, I have 14 appointments booked this week. He goes, you should train on this. You should teach people this. And then I had one of those aha moments. What is every entrepreneur lacking? What is every network marketer lacking? What is every business coach lacking? Connection. Everyone is being taught how to automate this and automate that. You can automate eventually, but you have to earn the right to automate people in your networks. You have to build that rapport, that know, like, and trust. So I went on a podcast, and it was with one of my first business coaches, Jeffrey Combs, and it was a live call. So I was on there, and I was just spitting out all the things that I knew. And the big three things that I want the audience to know is you have to know why LinkedIn, and that's because of three things. Number one, the average age, 30 to 55 years old. Perfect demographic for people that are established in business. Number two, the average income of someone on LinkedIn is $100,000 a year or more. So we talk about mindset. These people have that money mindset. And number three is the size of the network that you can grow. You're allowed 30,000 organic connections on LinkedIn. I've grown mine from 500 to nearly 28,000 in the last 3.5 years. And you look at Facebook and Instagram, where the average age is 18 to 29 with a yearly income of $30,000 a year or less. You have to know who you're marketing to and where you should spend your time. So those are the true numbers. And I was spitting out all these numbers on this live call. And I get off and I go onto Facebook, and I had 8 inboxes of people wanting to hire me. And I didn't know what they wanted to hire me for. But as I opened every message, it's like, can you teach me LinkedIn? What do you charge? Can you teach me LinkedIn? What do you charge? And that was the beginning of my business. And then obviously that's 5 years ago, and it's taken on a life of its own. Brian, here's what I realized. Some of the best businesses are created when you are solving a problem that a lot of people have. And LinkedIn solves a lot of problems. Brand awareness, making yourself more visible, talking to the right people, having the amount of conversations required to have all of those no's that lead to the yeses. And I'll share a really awesome success story. Jeremiah Campbell, who's one of my good friends, he's in Detroit, Michigan. He owns a masonry business, and he rebuilds the infrastructures to commercial and residential properties. And he was wanting to learn how to connect with other real estate professionals where he could bid for jobs. So he started working with me, and he sent me a text a few weeks ago, and he says, I just have to let you know, I've had my company for 15 years, and we just closed the largest contract in our company's history, and it was nearly $300,000. And he goes, I can't thank you enough. And Brian, this goes back to something that we talked about in the very beginning. It's the door of opportunity. By him learning LinkedIn and the power of it, he just opened up a whole door of possibilities of monetary growth and impact for his business. And that's just the beginning. So I always tell people that they have to look at LinkedIn like a layer cake. And the tiers of the cake, like a wedding cake, get smaller as you get to the top. And that's to say that there's a core foundation, there is a middle part, a smaller part, and then the cherry on top. Now, the core foundation of LinkedIn is your profile. And a lot of people don't understand the power of this, but you have to understand when Microsoft bought LinkedIn out nearly 4.5 years ago, they embedded SEO, search engine optimization, on all of our profiles. So now, just like Google, Bing, and Yahoo, people are going onto LinkedIn and searching for what they're looking for. Podcast host, business coach, speaker, whatever people are looking for, they're going to go to LinkedIn first because that's where the professionals are hanging out. So if your profile is not filled out the right way, if you don't have the right keywords for the searches that you want to appear in, you are invisible. So making sure that you have a great headshot photo, you have a background photo, a clear headline that describes what you do, an about me section that talks about why you do what you do, all the experiences that you've worked in, not listing it like a resume, putting some juice to it, sharing your education, sharing your licenses and certifications if you have them, any philanthropic activity, volunteer experience, and getting personal recommendations, which I call the Better Business Bureau of LinkedIn. So if anyone ever connects with me on there, you'll see that I have nearly 400 written recommendations of people that I've worked with. So I don't need to tell people I'm credible. I let my clients do the credible speaking for me. So that's the first tier. The second tier is actually the audience that you're building. So I take people through an avatar exercise where who's your target market? Who's your ideal client? Who's your ideal business partner? And whatever that answer is, you search for them. If you're a nurse practitioner and you're in network marketing, chances are you want to connect with other nurse practitioners because you're going to have a relatable story. If you're a business coach, what kind of business coach are you? And what is the typical industry of a client that you work with? So you start searching for people within that profession and industry. Your job is to build a network that looks like the mirror image of you or the mirror image of the type of person that would most likely hire you and or work with you. So that's the second tier. The third tier is messaging. And this is where things go awry. Because, Brian, I don't think you and I have not at this point received some drunkalog message from someone, verbal vomiting all over us, 16 paragraphs, them trying not to sell us, where they want us to watch a video or check this link out or schedule a call here. In sales, and I know you know this because you've been in sales for a long time as well, you have to earn the right to sell someone. You can't just ask for the sale. You have to earn the right to do that. And you do that by building rapport and trust. Does that make sense?
Total sense.
So when you do message someone, there's a 3-step process. Step 1 is mention the person's name in the message. Yeah. Hey, Brian, great to connect with you. I know that seems so simple, but it is. Hey, Brian, great to connect with you. Second step is telling the person why you're connecting with them without trying to pitch or sell. You're looking to connect. I see that you're also a podcast host. Would love to hear about it. Share more about mine to see how we can support each other here on the platform. So that's my reason for reaching out without trying to sell or pitch, near just wanting to connect. Finally, you finish with a CTA, a call to action. And you just basically say, anytime for a call this week or next week. You just finish with a question. If I said, Brian, let me know when's good for you. Well, you would never let me know because I never asked. You have to ask to get. You have to ask in order to get. So you always have to remember that questions lead to answers. So that's the very, very simplistic 3-step process in properly messaging someone on LinkedIn that's going to get you a high response rate. Now, the final tier, the cherry on top, is the most important. And Brian, you touched on it earlier. LinkedIn right now is having a Facebook 2012 moment. It has the highest organic engagement and it has the highest organic reach on all of social media right now, and you're not taking advantage of it. Now, if you're going to provide content, it has to be 2 types of content. Well, video is number 1. You have to produce videos, which obviously you're doing right now. But if you're going to write a post, if you're going to write an article, if you're going to do a video, you want to do 2 things. Number 1, educate. Educate your audience on something that they don't know, or maybe giving them some tangible tips, takeaways. You know, the 3 benefits to guided meditation while you sleep. Leave them better. Number 2, inform. Let them know something that they don't know. Inform them of a change. Inform them of something that they need to look out for or maybe think about doing. And the reason why you do that, if you do this the right way, both the educating and informing should be content that is speaking specifically to that network that you're building. Because here's the beauty of it. Your profile is reflecting the mirror image of who you want to connect with. You start connecting with that mirror image, so they're going to more likely want to connect with you and accept. then you're messaging them in a genuine and authentic way where they're going to see a parallel between you and them, so they'll be open to connect. And now the cherry on top is you're writing content that is speaking directly to that person and things that they're going through, where they're going to more organically engage, which means you're building that know, like, and trust. You're bringing them closer to you instead of pushing them further away from you. You're not selling and telling. You're not posting transformations and before and afters and shake pictures and whatever else. People do not treat LinkedIn like Facebook and Instagram. Treat it for what it's best used for, which is connecting with a genuine and authentic audience. And those are the basic 4 keys of how to gain massive traction and success on LinkedIn.
That was phenomenal. In fact, that was some of the most value-packed information I can recall ever having on this show. And really, I think Scott just gave away his entire program right there. And I know that there are more details that can help you get even better results, but that's the kind of guy he is. He wants to help people. And here, this is what I love about what you just did, Scott. A lot of people will talk about going on and educate and inform and give them value, give them what they need. And you just by example, just now did that very same thing.
Thank you.
So anyone watching that has any question of your character integrity, and those that say, do what I do, but not as, or do what I say, but not as I do, that is not this gentleman. That is not Scott Aaron. He is a product of the product. He's preaching it. Can you feel his passion? Man, I sure can. And that's phenomenal. I love that, because someone that's not passionate about what they do, well, I'm running away, because if you're not into it, why should I be?
It's funny you say that. I booked a keynote in June in the Philadelphia area, and I was getting interviewed. So for people that want to speak, you sometimes have to do a couple of interviews, and I had an interview with this guy, and he's like, oh, we had a LinkedIn speaker 10 years ago. What are you going to say that's different? So he opened up a whole can of worms with that one, because basically I talked about what I love talking about, which is LinkedIn. And after I was done, he goes, you're pretty passionate about what you do, aren't you? And I said, well, number one, it's my business. And number two, yes. And he goes, well, you said about 4 or 5 different things that I didn't know about. So I guess LinkedIn did change. So I'm going to take this to the board, and we're going to talk about it next Monday, and I'll let you know. And then a week later, I got the email. Congratulations, you've been booked for the June event. So it's, again, you talk about what you know, and I have nothing to hide. You have to give in order to get. It's the law of reciprocation. I'm not going to come on here and pretend like I know everything, but my job is to educate and inform people on why I love LinkedIn so much, because if it's going to inspire someone to go on there and start educating and informing, they're going to change other lives. And that's the chain reaction that people like you and me can have when one life and one mind is opened up, because then it just spreads like wildfire.
Yeah, and like you said, give in order to get, and I know you're this way, and that is give without the expectation of getting.
None.
I mean, to just give. And I'll tell you, I mean, inherently, I'm saying you in general, not just Scott, know that at some point in some time, something will come back to you, because it does over and over. But if your intent is to give to get, then less and less of that will occur. That I found from just real life experience. And oh my gosh, there's so much here. When did you ever imagine, Scott, let's say you're on stage in your uniform, working, doing the bodybuilding posing. Did you ever in your wildest dreams back at that time think you would be doing what you're doing now and talking about and training on LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
And
no, I mean, it's honestly, it's crazy to think about.
So here's the great thing about it. You found something that you got really good at. You had success, and people kept asking you, can you help me? Can you train me? And how do I pay you? And here's what Scott did that so many do not do. and that is he listened to the marketplace. So many of us, and we all do, we all have these phenomenal ideas. This is the next best thing. The thing is it's the next best thing to you. The thing is to prove, is it the next best thing to the marketplace? Because more often than not, our wonderful ideas fall on deaf ears. And Scott was a receptor of just kicking butt at doing one thing. And he got the response, and he was flexible enough to change his course. His ship was moving, and now he's aiming right where he needs to be aiming it for now. It doesn't mean that's what he'll do the rest of his life. This will lead into other opportunities, and who knows? It's an awesome ride. That's the beauty of it. I didn't know a year ago I'd get into automation. Same thing happened. I had people like Scott that after the show, they'd say, hey, Brian, your show is really high quality. There's a lot of automation that goes behind it. That's after rapport is built. We've already got the connection, either directly or through referrals. And they're all wondering, how do I do that? And I didn't, in my wildest dreams, ever think that I would create an entire training system around that. No way. I didn't want to. And now I love it. I'm having a blast doing it. And it's a thing that is so important. I just want to impart on people. You're a perfect example of it, Scott, is listen to the marketplace. It's okay to have that idea. It's okay to develop that idea to a point, but test it in the market before you go crazy and spend all this. Listen, being an entrepreneur, building a business, it's super easy, right, Scott? It doesn't take any effort, hardly at all.
None.
Yeah.
None. Simple. Yeah. Anyone can do it.
I mean, please, if you get anything out of this, besides connecting with Scott to figure out how to do this LinkedIn, is to listen to the marketplace. And if you have something that you're already getting hit on that people are saying, man, I would love to learn how then that's them telling you. Maybe that's something you need to nurture and build into a product of some kind or a service. So Scott, my goodness, this has been, here's Jay Little. I guess he knows you. I always enjoy watching you speak, Scott.
Yep, for my clients.
Nice. He's got a fan base. So they're out here raving. And that's what happens. You build this fan base of raving fans organically and just by producing, what you promise and over delivering, which I can tell Scott's one of those. A bodybuilder is an over deliverer. There's no doubt. Oh my goodness. And because of that, you get raving fans that are out there shouting on your behalf. And it's wild when it happens because you're like, whoa, you're talking about me. That's pretty awesome. That's kind of weird. That's cool though. It's a great experience to go through. It's never expected from me just because I'm doing what I think I should be doing anyway, which is providing as much possible value. I want the results. I know that's you, Scott. The important thing of everything you do in business is to give your client the results they're looking for. Without that, if you don't have that in mind, then don't even start. Please don't even start.
The only thing I charge for is my time. That's it. It's just you're investing in my time where I can teach you how to open up a door of whatever you want to create. And listen, I'm not responsible for anyone's success. I'm not. The people that succeed with what I teach, they're responsible for their own success. And I let them know that. I thank them for their praise, but it's not me. I taught you what to do. And you need to pat yourself on the back because you took action on what I helped you understand. You applied it. You're having those conversations. You're growing your business. All I'm doing, I'm teaching you. You're being a student. You're listening. You're taking action, being accountable, and making it happen. So my clients, the ones that are getting success, they deserve all the credit, not me.
I'll tell you, man, I knew there was something when I saw you for the first time and I said, he looks like my clone. We're like twins. It's like amazing. Geez. So lockstep with you, my brother. So lockstep.
Thank you.
I cannot believe it. We're literally at the end of the show, but we're going to go a little bit longer because that was so amazing. If you're cool with it, a few minutes more, Scott, because a couple of things I wanted to wrap up with, in addition to giving folks exactly how to connect with you. Mm-hmm. And that is, I promised everyone who was watching live that there would be an opportunity to win something pretty fabulous. And that is that 5-night stay at a 5-star luxury resort in Mexico. And at this time, you all do now have our permission, if you need to take your gaze away from the screen and pull out your cell phone if you're not watching on it already, and bring up your text app and type in the number as if you're going to send it to your best friend. Put a number instead of a name. Put 661-535-1624. And down where you're going to type the message to that friend, you type in the word peak, P-E-A-K, and tap that little send icon. And that will enter you to win a 5-night stay at a 5-star resort in Mexico. All, again, compliments of my great buddies over there at powertexting.com. Phenomenal, phenomenal. Do that now. Do it right away, because we have a phenomenal question to end this broadcast with. And then right after that, you will get the information you need to connect with Mr. Scott Aaron. Highly recommend you do that. So go ahead, get that text out there, enter to win. I can't wait to see who randomly gets picked, who's going to be the next person enjoying themselves in some exotic land in a beautiful resort. All right. So, Scott, I love to ask this question of every guest that comes on this show. And I know that you're not aware of what it is, and that's the beauty of it. And in fact, you're not aware of many of the things we talked about, because we typically don't go by script. We had a few in there. The thing is, this question is very telling, and it's also very personal. And don't worry, it's not that kind of personal. It's not deep personal. But the cool thing is, here's the thing. There is no such thing as a wrong answer. It doesn't exist. And the exact opposite is the case. It's the only correct answer. The only correct answer is yours. That's why it's personal. That makes it personal. So with that, are you ready for the grand finale question?
I am ready. I am ready.
Yeah, I mean, of anybody who wouldn't, I mean, a bodybuilder, come on. He's ready for anything.
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Scott Aaron, how do you define success?
Oh, you know what? It's so funny. This is the same question I ask people all the time. You know, it changes for me, but what it is right now, success to me is defined by waking up each day and living your life by design, the exact way of how you want to live it, who you want to spend it with, and the impact that you want to leave around you. That's what success is defined to me right now.
I love that on so many fronts. I love it was right now, because isn't it true how our own internal representation of, that was an NLP thing, of success changes over time. It is true. That's the beautiful thing about success. It is so subjective. It means different things to different people, even at different times in their walk on this earth. And the other thing I love about what I get to do is when I have folks on like you, every one of them has been the same. There isn't a single one who answered that, well, when I make $10 million, it had nothing to do with the money. And if money was mentioned in it, what the end game, the end result was not money. It was the freedom and liberty that it bought them or afforded them. And it's never about money, especially when you talk to someone who has already achieved a level of success per their own definition. Ooh, yes.
That's good.
That's a mind warp right there, isn't there?
Yeah.
So whatever your definition of success is, you the audience, that know that it's okay to change it. Just aim for whatever that is at this moment. Aim to continue it, and then aim a little higher and see how many more people you can serve in the world, how many more people you can help. That's what true, wonderful, amazing entrepreneurs such as Scott Aaron do on an everyday basis, because that's what keeps us alive. It drives us, being able to help others to increase their situation. How can LinkedIn help me? How can it not? Are you kidding me? There are so many ways it can help you. I mean, another car payment, gone. And then from there, it's the house payment, and then gone. And then from there, now you paid off your house, and that's gone. And now you can move to another house where you want to live and live your life by design like Scott Aaron's doing. So, maybe that's a goal. I want to be like Scott.
Maybe.
Why not? So real quick, I'd like to segue over, and thank you so much for that wonderful answer. It was truly yours, as it always is. But what I want to do is give you a moment to let people know how they can get in contact with you, because I know there are going to be many who are interested in how do I crack that LinkedIn nut, so to speak.
Yeah.
make this work for me. So I'm going to pull up your website and you can help me drive, and we'll navigate over to where folks can get in touch with you real quick here.
Yeah, absolutely. If people go to scottaaron.net and you click on products and services, and there's a work with me button, you can fill out a form to schedule a free 15-minute call. And, obviously people can also connect with me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Facebook and LinkedIn, it's just Scott Aaron, and on Instagram, it's at Scott Aaron LinkedIn. So I love connecting with people. I do free 15-minute discovery calls all the time because sometimes I'm not the best fit for someone, but I at least want to get to know someone. Maybe they know someone that is, and it's all, again, about that connection, and just looking forward to hearing from you guys.
Fantastic. Again, so now it's on the screen for you to see, much larger, scottaaron.net. Don't forget there's 2 T's and 2 A's together. That's right. And be sure to connect with Scott. You can tell he's an amazing guy. Look at he's still got guns. Look at that. Look at that. He's still got guns. He's still staying in shape because he knows it's important. And you're just an amazing guy. And I'm so blessed to have been able to get to know you and share you. More importantly, is to, allow other people to meet you if they have not ever seen you before. And this is not the end of it. It's a live show, but the video is going to be there forever on many platforms, as we are streaming live on many platforms at this very moment. It's also going on 25 podcasting platforms right after the show. It will be up on 25 podcast platforms, and it will be in other places as well: Roku, Amazon Fire TV, on-demand TV. And so that's my mission, is to spread the wealth of knowledge and beauty of people like Scott Aaron. And I cannot be more thankful to you, my man. I appreciate you for coming on and spending this time with us tonight.
Brian, the feeling is mutual. And they always say that, great minds think alike, and, nothing happens by accident. Everything happens on purpose. And just grateful to spend this last hour with you, and even the half hour in the pre-show where we were just talking. And, I know this is going to open up doors for the both of us, and looking forward to collaborating and doing more together.
Oh, bingo, right at you. And we will have a chat right after the show's over. Speaking of that, we better end this sucker, huh? But on behalf of this amazing gentleman, Mr. Scott Aaron, I am Brian Kelly, the host of the Mind Body Business Show. And we will be back again next time with another fantastic guest. So be on the lookout. We'll see you again. For now, have a great, great evening. Be blessed, and so long.
Thank you for watching and listening. This has been the Mind Body Business Show with Brian Kelly.